Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you are new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button because today we are exploring a phenomenon that has fundamentally transformed human social behavior. And this is not just about pandemic-related changes that forced everyone online, though that certainly accelerated the trend. This shift has been happening for years, and it is not simply about convenience or technology availability. There are deep psychological, social, and practical reasons why millions of people now find digital interaction less stressful, more appealing, and sometimes preferable to in-person socialization. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, despite what older generations might suggest. But it is also not without costs and complications. So today we're diving into the psychology of why online interaction feels safer and easier for so many people, what needs and means that in-person interaction does not, what we gain and what we lose in the shift to digital socializing, and how to think about balancing online and offline connection in ways that serve your actual well-being rather than just defaulting to what is easiest or most anxiety-reducing in the moment. Let us start by understanding the fundamental psychological differences between online and in-person interaction, because these differences explain much of the preference shift. First, online interaction offers controllability that face-to-face interaction does not. When you are interacting digitally, you control the pace of conversation. You can take time to think before responding. You can edit your messages before sending. You can ignore messages when you are not in the mood to engage. And you can end interactions easily without the awkwardness of physical departure. In face-to-face situations, you have to respond in real time. You cannot take back what you said. You cannot easily escape, and silence or hesitation is visible and potentially uncomfortable. Or who feel overwhelmed by the rapid-fire nature of in-person conversation. This controllability is enormously appealing and anxiety-reducing. Second, online interaction allows for selective self-presentation in ways that physical presence does not. You can carefully curate what you share, how you appear in photos, what aspects of your life you reveal, and what persona you present. You can hide things you feel insecure about: your appearance, your living situation, physical characteristics, nervousness, awkwardness. You can present an idealized or at least carefully edited version of yourself. This reduces the vulnerability and exposure that comes with physical presence where all of you is visible. For people with body image issues, social anxiety, insecurity about their circumstances, or fear of judgment, this ability to control presentation is a major psychological relief. Third, online interaction reduces the intensity and demand of social situations. Face-to-face gatherings involve multiple simultaneous inputs: reading facial expressions, interpreting tone and body language, maintaining eye contact, managing your own nonverbal communication, processing conversation content, monitoring social dynamics, and responding appropriately in the moment. This is cognitively and emotionally demanding, especially for introverts, people with social anxiety, or people on the autism spectrum who find processing social cues overwhelming. Online interaction, particularly text-based, dramatically reduces these demands. You only have to process words. You can focus on one conversation at a time. You do not have to perform socially with your body and face, and you can regulate the intensity of engagement. This makes socialization less exhausting and more sustainable for many people. Fourth, online interaction offers asynchronous options, meaning you do not have to engage in real time. You can respond to messages hours or days later. You can participate in discussions on your own schedule. You can take breaks without it being noticeable or rude. This flexibility is enormously valuable for people with demanding schedules, caregiving responsibilities, chronic illness, or simply low social energy. In-person gatherings require synchronous participation. You have to be there at a specific time, engage continuously while present, and coordinate schedules with others, which can be logistically difficult and socially draining. Fifth, online spaces allow you to find communities and connections that might not exist in your physical environment. If you have niche interests, are part of a minority identity, or live in an area where you do not fit in. Online communities provide access to people who share your experiences, interests, or values. This can create a sense of belonging and understanding that physical proximity alone cannot provide. For many people, their most meaningful connections are with people they have never met in person but who truly get them in ways local acquaintances do not. Now let us discuss the specific psychological needs that online interaction meets, because understanding this helps explain the preference. First, there is the need for social connection without overwhelm. Humans need connection, but the intensity of in-person interaction can be too much for many people. Online interaction allows you to meet connection needs in smaller, more manageable doses. You can have brief exchanges throughout the day rather than 3-hour coffee dates. You can maintain friendships with minimal energy investment. This is particularly valuable for introverts who need significant alone time to recharge but still want social connection. Second, there is the need for control and safety. Online interaction feels psychologically safer because you have more control over when, how, and how much you engage. You can block people easily, you can avoid topics you find triggering, you can disengage without confrontation. This sense of control reduces anxiety and makes social engagement less threatening. Third, there's the need for validation and belonging. While online validation has its problems, it also provides immediate, visible feedback that you are seen, heard, and valued. Likes, comments, shares, and messages provide quantifiable evidence of connection and approval that can feel more concrete than the sometimes ambiguous feedback you get in person. For people who struggle to read social cues or who are insecure about whether they are liked, this explicit feedback meets a need for reassurance. Fourth, there is the need for authentic expression in specific contexts. Paradoxically, while online interaction allows for curated presentation, it also sometimes allows for more authentic expression than in-person contexts. You might share thoughts, feelings, or aspects of your identity online that you cannot safely share in your physical environment due to family, cultural, or community constraints. Online spaces can provide freedom to explore and express yourself in ways that physical contexts do not allow. Let us talk about the social and cultural factors that are driving the preference for online interaction. First, there is increasing social fragmentation and busyness. Modern life is more demanding than ever. Long work hours, commutes, financial pressures, caregiving responsibilities. People have less time and energy for socializing, and coordinating schedules for in-person gatherings is genuinely difficult. Online interaction fits into the cracks of busy lives in ways that scheduled face-to-face meetings do not. Second, there is declining third places. Public spaces like cafes, community centers, parks, or bookstores where people can casually gather and interact. Many communities lack accessible third places, especially for young people or people without disposable income, which means there are fewer natural opportunities for spontaneous in-person social interaction. Third, there is increased geographic mobility. People move more frequently for education and work, which means friend groups become geographically dispersed. Maintaining relationships across distances requires digital tools, and these relationships often stay primarily digital even though they can be deeply meaningful. Fourth, there is the normalization of digital-first interaction. For younger generations who grew up with internet and smartphones, online interaction is not a substitute for real interaction, it is simply how interaction happens. The distinction between online and offline relationships is less meaningful to digital natives than to older generations. And fifth, there is increased awareness of social anxiety and neurodivergence. As understanding of these conditions has grown, more people recognize that they struggle with in-person interaction in ways that are not just shyness or preference, but reflect genuine neurological or psychological differences. Online interaction provides accommodation that makes social participation possible for people who would otherwise be isolated. Now let us discuss what we gain through online interaction, because it is important to acknowledge the genuine benefits. We gain accessibility. People with mobility issues, chronic illness, agoraphobia, or geographic isolation can maintain social connections that would otherwise be impossible. We gain diversity of connection. You can interact with people across the world, from different backgrounds and perspectives, which enriches understanding and challenges echo chambers, though it can also create them. We gain flexibility and convenience. You can socialize in your pajamas at midnight, if that is when you have energy. We gain documentation. You have records of conversations, can save meaningful exchanges, and can revisit discussions. We gain safety for vulnerable populations, LGBTQ+ youth in hostile environments, people in abusive situations, or those exploring identities can find support and information online that physical contexts do not provide. But let us also honestly discuss what we lose, because the costs are real. Even if online interaction meets certain needs effectively, we lose nonverbal richness. The majority of human communication is nonverbal, and even video calls do not fully capture the subtle cues of physical presence. Tone, facial expressions, body language, physical proximity, and shared environmental context all convey information and create connection in ways that digital interaction cannot replicate. We lose spontaneity and serendipity. In-person gatherings create unexpected moments, conversations that flow in surprising directions, connections with people you would not have deliberately sought out. Online interaction is more structured and intentional, which eliminates both awkwardness and delightful randomness. We lose physical co-presence and embodied connection. There is something psychologically and emotionally significant about being in the same physical space with someone, breathing the same air, existing in the same moment. This creates a depth of connection that digital interaction struggles to match. We lose accountability and commitment. It is much easier to cancel, ghost, or half-engage with online plans than in-person commitments, which can create shallower, less reliable connections. We lose shared experiences and memory formation. Doing things together physically creates stronger memories and bonds than parallel online experiences. And we lose the discomfort that builds resilience. While the reduced anxiety of online interaction is appealing, avoiding the discomfort of in-person socialization means you never build tolerance for social stress or develop better social skills through practice. There is also the risk of online interaction, enabling avoidance that maintains social anxiety rather than addressing it. If you are anxious about in-person interaction and you always default to online connection, you never get the exposure that would reduce the anxiety. The avoidance feels good in the short term, but maintains or worsens the problem long term. Additionally, online interaction can create a false sense of connection that does not actually meet deep human needs for intimacy, touch, and physical co-presence. You can feel busy with social interaction online while actually being quite lonely because the interaction is not satisfying core attachment and belonging needs. So how do you think about this preference healthily? First, recognize that both online and offline interaction have value and neither is inherently superior. The question is not which is better, but what serves your actual well-being and goals. Second, be honest about whether online preference is about genuine preference and fit with your needs, or whether it is driven by avoidance of anxiety, fear, or discomfort. If you are avoiding in-person interaction because it is hard, but you actually feel lonelier and less satisfied with purely online connection, that is a sign you need to work on building in-person social skills and tolerance rather than defaulting to digital. Third, practice intentional balance. Challenge yourself to maintain some in-person connections even if they are harder, because the depth of those relationships usually justifies the effort. At the same time, do not force yourself to abandon online connections that are meaningful just because others think they are not real. Fourth, pay attention to quality over quantity in both domains. A few genuine online friendships where you actually support each other are better than hundreds of superficial followers. Similarly, Occasional deep in-person connection is better than frequent shallow social obligations. Fifth, recognize that life stages and circumstances affect what you need. During high-stress periods, online interaction might be all you can manage. During periods of loneliness or transition, in-person effort might be crucial. Flexibility rather than rigid rules serves you best. Sixth, if you find that your preference for online interaction is isolating you, increasing loneliness, or preventing you from developing relationships and experiences you actually want, that is a sign to push yourself toward more in-person engagement, even though it is uncomfortable. And seventh, if online interaction is genuinely serving you well, meeting your needs, providing meaningful connection, and not causing problems in your life, you do not owe anyone in-person socialization just because that is traditional or expected. Your social life is yours to design in ways that work for you. If this video helped you think more clearly about online versus in-person interaction, please give it a thumbs up and share it. Drop a comment. Do you prefer online or in-person interaction, and why? What are you gaining and what might you be missing? And remember, there's no one right way to socialize. The goal is not to conform to others' expectations, but to build a social life that genuinely meets your needs for connection, authenticity, and well-being, whether that happens primarily online, primarily in person, or through some combination that works specifically for you. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.